Hi and welcome. This is Homebody Rundown and I'm HR. In today's video, I'm showing a few meals and desserts that we've had over the past few months. Hopefully there are some ideas in here for you if you're looking for that. This is not a recipe video. I rarely use recipes, but if it is online or there's something similar, I will link it in the description. But just know I probably didn't follow it exactly. We are a family of 5, but oldest child is sometimes off at college, so then I'm feeding 2 teenagers, myself, and my husband. Also, we eat a mostly vegetarian diet. 2 kids do eat meat, and we do eat fish or seafood, which is known as a pescatarian diet. But we are not strict. I lean towards buying vegetarian products like cheese when they're available, but that is not always what we eat, especially when we are eating out. Also, plenty of chips have cheese powders that are not vegetarian. The kids will occasionally eat products that probably have gelatin, etc. It can be pretty complicated if you are following a strict vegetarian diet, and I just want to be clear that's not what you will be seeing here. But pretty much all the recipes I'm making today would not be difficult to switch over to a vegetarian version. Starting with a little food prep, this is some garlic that I roasted in the oven with olive oil, chopping it in the food processor, and then putting it in these very small jars for the freezer. I like to use these Ball brand gray leak-proof lids. They've done really well in the freezer for me, as in not breaking. The white lid is a Walmart brand and they are super easy to get on and off, but I have broken 1 or 2 of these in the freezer, so this one will just be for the refrigerator. Going to make a lasagna tonight, but with no sauce or very little sauce. Someone in the house is having acid reflux, so I'm skipping the heavy tomato sauce I usually make, and I'm too lazy to make a white sauce, so I thought I would just try it with the cheese filling and sautéed vegetables. To the onions and red peppers, I added Italian seasoning, and this is vegetable bouillon, which will add a lot of saltiness, plus some of that roasted garlic. Adding in a bag of frozen sliced mushrooms. These things are so convenient. And part of a bag of chopped frozen spinach. This will need to cook down for a while because both of these items will let off a lot of moisture. To add a little iron and protein, I'm going to cook a small amount of red lentils to add to the veggie mixture. While those things are cooking, I will work on the cheese mixture. I have a couple eggs in this bowl, and I'm going to add a 15-ounce container of whole milk ricotta cheese, grated Parmesan cheese, and shredded mozzarella. The green in here is dried parsley, also adding garlic powder and roasted garlic powder, mixing it all together. Adding the cooked lentils to the cooked vegetables. I did add a bouillon cube to the lentils while they cooked. I couldn't help it. I had to add a little tomato sauce. This is just a jarred pasta sauce on the bottom of the 9x13 baking dish. Then a layer of no-boil pasta sheets, the tiniest bit of sauce, the cheese, and the vegetables. Also, I would say don't try to break these pasta sheets. They are so hard and sharp they could seriously cut you. To top this, I'm using some crumbled goat cheese, shredded mozzarella, and more dried parsley for color. I usually bake lasagnas for most of the time with foil over it, and then I take it off so the cheese can get browned. I did miss the tomato sauce in this, but everyone was able to eat it, and oldest child really liked it. The vegetables had enough moisture that it wasn't dry. Making something on this day that I've always called Veggie Pizza. It's made with crescent rolls and cream cheese. My mom has made this for years and we really like it. I was able to pick up some natural crescent rolls at Whole Foods. We bake it on parchment paper. You just need to get the crescent rolls unrolled and press the edges together. Did the minimum time, but didn't really think that through because it's a single layer instead of rolled up like a crescent roll, so it was overdone. Not burned, so I am still going to use it. I have made this before, but it's been years. I try not to make too many things that use a lot of cream cheese. This is the time-consuming part, dicing up all of the veggies. I have several colors of bell pepper, fresh cremini mushrooms, radishes, which I love, and broccoli. I don't usually have all of these fresh vegetables on hand. I tend to buy frozen, so this did take some planning ahead. To softened cream cheese, I'm going to add a little sour cream just to make it less thick. Adding garlic powder and dried dill. Also decided to use a tomato. These weren't really great tasting, but I wanted to use them up. After spreading the cream cheese layer on, I'll start laying on the veggies, but not all the kids like all of these vegetables, so you can see on the left side here I'm keeping it simple with just bell peppers and broccoli. The crust was on the dry side, but it still tasted good and we ate all of it. Roasting some frozen cauliflower, I added olive oil, some spray avocado oil, salt, and this adobo seasoning, which is awesome. It's from Frontier Co-op brand. Using a store-bought pie crust, this is Immaculate brand. I highly recommend these. I get them at Whole Foods. I'm making a quiche. Usually I just add in whatever I find in the refrigerator as far as vegetables and cheese. Today I have roasted red peppers that I chopped into bite-sized pieces, cooked and seasoned kale, and crumbled goat cheese. Adding a little heavy cream to the eggs before I whisk them. Sometimes I just use milk if I don't have cream. Spices I add include turmeric, that's the yellow that you see here, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, salt, and garlic salt. Also added a fresh tomato. That's one of my favorite things to add to quiche. And I just remembered I had some diced white onion in the refrigerator, so sprinkling some of that on top as well. The edges of the pie crust get a little dark, but it still tasted great. Going to make two kinds of cookies today, peanut butter and Gingersnap. So I've gotten out most of the ingredients for both cookies. When I'm going to be using the mixer, I try to make more than one thing just to make all the cleanup worthwhile. This is my favorite type of vegetable shortening. The brand is Spectrum. It's organic. I can find it at Meijer, which is a Midwest USA store, and Whole Foods Market. Starting with a peanut butter cookie, I'm using this Costco brand organic peanut butter. I feel like it has a stronger peanut butter flavor, which makes for a better cookie. It does take a little more effort to get this peanut butter out of the jar, and there's some separation, so I do need to stir the oil back in. These cookies use white sugar and brown sugar, which I needed to refill. I've been using this Bermioli Fido jar. It's made in Italy and has a seal or a gasket. The brown sugar has not been drying out, and this 24-ounce bag fits perfectly. While I have the eggs out for the peanut butter cookies, I'm going to go ahead and also crack the eggs for the Gingersnaps. This house was built in the 70s, and I really like these metal-lined drawers. I keep my flour containers in here, and it's easy to clean or wipe down the sides. Have all the dry ingredients in, so we'll finish mixing these. I like using this mixer attachment with the scraping side. However, I still have to use a spatula and manually scrape down the sides at least once. Got the peanut butter dough into a Rubbermaid container so it can chill in the refrigerator, and now I'll get started on the Gingersnaps. I'm using the shortening measuring cup for the molasses since the molasses is so sticky. Adding the egg that was ready to go in with brown sugar, molasses, and shortening. The spices are cinnamon, ginger, and just a little bit of cloves. I'll try to link this recipe in the description. Once this is all mixed up, I will also put it in the refrigerator to chill. That's kind of nice because I can get the kitchen cleaned up before we start baking them. It takes a little rearranging at times because this is a cabinet depth refrigerator, so it's not super deep. I bake these on parchment paper using air-baked cookie sheets, which I've had for over 20 years. They really hold up. Anyway, the lighter colored cookies are peanut butter. I forgot to use a fork to make a crosshatch pattern. The darker cookies are the Gingersnaps, which we did roll in white sugar before baking. Now I'm going to make a non-meat version of Sloppy Joes. However, this is not vegetarian because I do use Worcestershire sauce, which has anchovies in it. To some avocado oil, I added diced bell pepper, mostly green, a diced red onion, and a bag of meatless veggie crumbles. This brand is Quorn, that's Quorn. Adding salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and found a few more diced white onions in the refrigerator, so using those up as well, plus some brown sugar. Condiments will include the Worcestershire sauce, which I mentioned, yellow mustard, barbecue sauce, and ketchup. Just let this cook for another minute, and not having mine on a bun, I'm eating it in a bowl with some dill pickle relish and shredded cheddar cheese. And 2 of the kids do not like this, so they are getting chicken nuggets. I'm not sure what to call this dish. It has Indian flavors, kind of like a butter chicken, but I'll be making it with lentils and chickpeas, cooking onion, garlic, and green chilies. These chilies are fairly spicy, so I'm not using this whole container. This is tomato paste. I'm adding a spice blend with cumin, turmeric, garam masala, paprika, and ginger. Also adding some vegetable bouillon. This is very salty. We'll add water and small red lentils, and we'll let this simmer for a few minutes. Had some fresh baby potatoes that needed to be used up, roasting them in the oven with oil, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Going to freeze the rest of these green chilies in a small glass jar. I don't use these very often, and I don't want them to go bad. Made some white rice in the Instant Pot. The spoon that came with the Instant Pot works really well for fluffing up the rice and scooping it. This has been simmering for about 5 minutes. It smells wonderful. I'm going to add lemon juice and some of that cauliflower I roasted in the oven. Then a jar of rinsed cooked chickpeas. This is Jovial brand. Also a couple tomatoes that were starting to get soft. And frozen green peas. Frequently this is all I add, but on this day I included vegetarian chicken that I had cooked with similar seasonings, a little bit of heavy cream, and some sour cream. Had a few pieces of naan bread that I warmed up. This was so delicious. Dinner on this night will be a pizza-flavored casserole, but I am using Field Roast brand plant-based pepperonis, also using up some leftovers and some goat cheese from the freezer. Picked up peeled garlic and using the food processor to chop it. I'll save some of this for this week and we'll put the rest in the freezer. Adding some of the chopped garlic to olive oil, also some leftover cooked spinach and onions. Had some sun-dried tomatoes in oil that I chopped in the food processor. These have a very strong flavor, so I won't use all of it. Also rough chopped some roasted red peppers that were in the refrigerator. Adding red pepper flakes, a little leftover pizza sauce, and marinara sauce. Cooking the pasta shells. Decided to add more sauce. This is a portobello sauce. Adding in pepperonis that I cut into quarters. I should have checked the sodium on these before adding this many because the pasta sauces also have quite a bit of sodium. I mean, it should taste really good. And oh yeah, the cheeses also have sodium. Sprinkling on goat cheese and mozzarella, then some dried parsley for color. After this, baked it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I did turn on the broiler for the last couple minutes. This did end up tasting very good, but next time I would not add as many vegetarian pepperonis. Had some sourdough bread I wanted to use up, so making a French toast casserole. Whenever I have bread but we are not getting through it quick enough, I just put it in the freezer until I have enough for a casserole or for stuffing. The milk I'm adding to the eggs is some that I mixed up from a whole milk powder. Mixed some frozen blueberries in with the bread cubes. Adding cinnamon and brown sugar in with some of the milk and egg mixture. I like to use measuring cups for these kinds of things since they have pour spouts. Forgot to add vanilla, so swirling that around in the last of the milk and pouring it over. Sprinkling over some kosher salt and a drizzle of maple syrup. This has a lot of liquid, so it will bake for a long time. I baked this covered with aluminum foil for most of the time, uncovered for maybe the last 15 minutes. Since it does have eggs, I checked a few spots with a thermometer to make sure it was cooked through. I don't know that I've ever made this with only sourdough bread, so it was pretty fantastic. Lunch on this day is going to be buffalo chicken sliders, or at least a vegetarian version of that, using corn brand meatless chicken, sweet Hawaiian rolls, buffalo wing sauce, and arugula. First, I'm going to slice this Cabot Creamery sharp cheddar cheese and run it through the food processor with the medium shred blade. It's a 2-pound block, so it makes quite a bit of shredded cheese. I'm going to freeze 3 of these containers. Frying up the vegetarian chicken with avocado oil, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I do use quite a bit of oil when I'm cooking this. The organic buffalo wing sauce is from Whole Foods, and we had never had it before. I tried it and I really like it, but it's spicy. I think it's too spicy for the rest of my family, so I'm going to cool it down with some whole-fat Greek yogurt. Also, this is the first time we've had the Whole Foods brand sweet rolls, and wow, these things were very soft and tasted great. We'll definitely buy them again. Veggie chicken has some color and crispiness, so now I'm going to chop it or shred it up. I do not care for most fake meat products, but this one I really like. It's my favorite, and honestly, I think it does look like chicken. Mixed shredded chicken with the buffalo wing yogurt sauce, put it on the buns with arugula, and the one on the right I also added dill pickle relish and sharp cheddar cheese. I really like the arugula on these. They were excellent. Now I'm going to make a chocolate pie. It's been a long while, maybe a couple years since I've made one of these, so I'm kind of winging it. I do have a general recipe that I originally followed, so I will put that in the description. In the measuring cup are 365 brand Oreo type cookies that I ran through the food processor with some melted butter. Now I'm making whipped cream. I decided to use this Pyrex that came from my great-grandmother's things, but it's very shallow, so probably not the best choice. Also, these cookie crumbs seem dry, so I'm going to add more butter. Got that figured out and pressed into the pie plate. Checking the whipped cream, it looks beautiful, but I may let this go another minute just to make it thicker. Took the whipped cream out of the mixing bowl, and now I'm going to use the same bowl to mix up this 365 organic chocolate pudding mix. Almost as soon as I poured the pudding into the crust, I remembered I was supposed to mix in some of the whipped cream. So I tried to take a little bit of the pudding out, but gave up on that because it was too easy to scrape the crust. I mixed just part of the pudding with the whipped cream. I do remember from the last time I made this pudding that there are little specks throughout the pudding mixture. I'm not sure if that's the way I mix it or just how this natural one from Whole Foods looks. This large Corelle bowl fits over the top of the pie plate, so I'm using it as a cover because this needs to go into the refrigerator for a few hours to set up. Bought some Ghirardelli milk chocolate melting wafers so I could make Buckeyes or peanut butter balls. I have a Post-it note with the recipe I used last year when I made this. I remember I wanted to modify it to get a stronger peanut flavor. These are my super professional notes. I'm trying 3/4 cup peanut butter and 3/4 cup powdered sugar with 3 tablespoons melted butter. And I just slowly melt the chocolate in the microwave, stirring it a few times. This is the mixture. There isn't a large amount, which is fine because these things are decadent. I made no effort to look up the best way to do this. I should have paid more attention when my mother-in-law used to make these. She was a real pro. She would make, I think, hundreds every year at Christmas time. This first one ended up being really flattened out, but I remembered to try using a toothpick, and that helped a lot. I was able to drop them onto the parchment paper more easily and then use the toothpick to smooth out the chocolate where the toothpick left a little hole. I made a note to chill the peanut butter mixture next time before dipping them in chocolate. I think that would really help them hold their shape because the mixture I've come up with is really soft. Also, I do store these in the refrigerator. The flat discs that you see on the paper are just leftover milk chocolate. One of the kids doesn't like peanut butter. If you like Reese's peanut butter cups or just peanut butter chocolate combinations, these are awesome. Chocolate pie has been in the refrigerator for about 4 hours. I'm going to spread a layer of whipped cream on top. I like to use the offset spatula for this. I saved some of the cookie crumbs to sprinkle over the top. I don't think I'll use this Pyrex again because it's so shallow, and it honestly sits so low you don't get to see the pretty color of the dish. The crust held together better than I expected. It's a very light, fluffy filling. I don't know that this pudding mix sets up as thick as conventional brands, but everybody loved it. As you may have noticed, there were several times in this video where I was not on my A game, forgetting ingredients and such, but that's just real life and it usually still works out. Luckily, my family's not terribly picky. I think our favorites in this video were the lasagna, the lentils and chickpeas, sliders, and chocolate pie. Hope you have a great week, and thanks for watching.